All right, here we go. We have in the top right Aeud 64 as the Blood Protoss. And in the bottom left, we have Hamster as the Deep Periwinkle Zerg. So, where will Hamster want to go first? That's the question. This is a cross-spawn map always, and it is going to be a 6-pool. 6-pooling Protoss has really fallen out of style ever since like about a year ago. It hasn't really been something we've seen too often. At least I haven't seen it too often. Maybe Thunder's out here doing it all the time. So, I think this is going to be a very interesting way of doing it, because you know where your opponent is on this map. It's always cross-spawn. This map is by BDB. Shout out BDB. So that will be an initial pool into some... Like, Hamster's caught the bug. Thunder 6-pools him. He 6-pools Aeud. Aeud can't 6-pool because he's not Zerg, but maybe he can 6-gate or something. So let's see how this one works, whether Hamster wants to do as Arbaz is elucidating in the chat, where he says 6 to 8 Zets and phase into Eco. Yeah, it could be. That could be. So I will have to see how this one ends up going, because I'm interested in what he wants to do myself. He's going for a lot of Zeths. So there it is, 4 pairs, 8 total. And he will be going for a Larvosk behind it. Almost has enough Vespene for that, just a few more returns. It's diagonal geyser, so it does smine a little bit slower. But just about right time, and the Zeth's already coming. Aeud is scouting this. He's going for his Legionnaire. And this is pretty bog standard for him anyway, but he looks like he will be waiting and making a Warden in the mineral line. Easy to drill on top of if the Zets go for it. And, of course, they can, heckle stuff until it's made, but it's about a 35-second build time. Probably going to be about halfway complete by the time the Zets actually get up there. I don't foresee this going super heavy in terms of damage, but Hamster might be able to surprise us. Yeah, more than halfway complete as the Zets arrive. Workers scramble for a fight, trying to target down that Legionnaire, and Ecclesias is almost complete. Oh, Aeud can't be lackadaisical with his scribes off to the right side. You can see him. There's an attempt. I love stepping between the structures. This is like when Marines in Starcraft 1 are trying to defend versus Zealots or whatever. Very cute. Little decollision sends one of the Zets into the structure of the Nexus and gets blasted, fittingly, by the Warden. Comes back in looking for something, but not really able to do much, and he's hemorrhaged pretty much all of his Zets. He forced out a Warden, a little bit more of a defensive posture, but honestly, all of these units are totally fine for Aeud. He is totally fine to make this happen this way. Does not mind it one bit. Now, we have a second Larvos coming, and that will allow Hamster to make some more workers behind it and sort of catch up in an eco sense. And getting into the Protoss's face and making them play a little bit more conservatively is always a good move. However, the Scout is over here seeing that there's still no expansion, and that is going to be pretty useful information. The Zealot has arrived, and he's going to be sauntering forward. Where did that Legionnaire end up going? Am I crazy? Did he die? Is he hiding? I guess he must have died on my screen, and I just didn't notice in time. Kabbalist is already here, though. Of course, that was scouted pretty heavily by Hamster, and so that is an Ovaleth on the way. What up, Newt? I see you in the chat. Hope you're doing well, man. Still no clearing of that scribe, so that's pretty good information here for Aeud. They'll finally see that the Ovaleth is there. Zealot battling back the Zethrakor. All right. Straight into the Vornath, so clearly Hamster believing. That's a good move there. Yeah, Cabal is just testing, seeing what's going on. Wants to go for one pick. You can kind of whittle it down. You can see he's already lost some shields, or lost a little bit of hull there. 12 damage dealt, by the way, to the hull. And now Aeud is going to be setting up for his own expansion. This could be a really good time for Hamster to expand himself, but it looks like he actually wants to save a bunch of minerals up. He's making a lot of Zets. Clearly he wants to make a lot of Vorvs. And that will be pretty mineral demanding, so he will not expand immediately. This could set him up for a really brutal timing, though. You see, his Droleth was over there. He thought about it for a second. Maybe it just spawned from the Larvosk, admittedly. That could have also been what happened, but a lot more Zets where that came from. He's got 3 larvae every 14 seconds. And, whoa, that Kabbalist barely lives enough to tell the tale there. Still waiting on that Nexus. Aeud spending down, queuing up some military when they step forward, but they still don't have enough money. Calcure Lake on 1 base for Hamster. He's already got 3 Vorvs. He can make many more if he wants to. Still no Nexus for Aeud. He's busy on the micro side. This is a really big threat here for him. If he can get the Kabbalist away out of dodge, he might be able to threaten some kind of counter push, but it gets surrounded and eaten up immediately. One of the Vagrants is very low on, it's already, in its death phase, so that'll be brought down very quickly. And the Vorvs are going to continue to sort of slow this army and allow the rest of it to catch up if they want. Hatch has been put down before the Nexus, mind you. Ayud only now dropping that. Very much, almost like 30 seconds to a minute late on that, especially if you factor in the extra time where he queued up like a Vagrant and couldn't do it as a result of that. This is looking pretty rough. Pretty rough. We'll have to wait and see how Ayud wants to handle it. Managed to get home with 2 Vagrants and an Ecclesiast, so that's not too bad. Adding more rogue galleries. He knows he needs a little bit more oomph. Charlatan will be coming soon. Even with that, I don't think it's going to be quite enough. Lyrilisks are on the way, but they probably surplus to requirements as well. Hamster committing forward. He might be able to take this map against Ayud. It looks very likely as he dives in. Frontline kiting backwards is working out pretty well for Ayud, though, and he does end up pushing him away. Especially with the help of that Charlatan, the Obelith goes down like nothing. Remember, 3 more rogue galleries are on the way. Trying to focus down those Zealots. The Ecclesiasts keep them alive for so long. Finally, we have that focus fire into the mid-range, targeting down as many of those units as he can. Goes down for 1 Vagrant. I think he meant to click the Charlatan. I'm not entirely sure. And he's got many more Zethra coming. Not anything else. That's it right now. 4 pairs of Naths. They can turn into Calculisks. He doesn't have a crazy gas bank for that just yet, especially as he spends some of it down onto the Lyrilusk. Rogue galleries are done. He's going to get more Vagrants for the front line. Going to be trading pretty well versus the Zeths, but you can see Hamster trying to shark around and see what he can find, keeping his opponent on a bit of an edge. This is a bad situation for the Protoss to be in general. You don't really want to be in a spot like this if you can help it, where you don't have any real dedicated splash. He's got the 1 Charlatan, and that's it. Now he dives right forward. Is he going to go after that guy, or is he just going to continue A-moving anything that is in his general vicinity? Wow, that split. He's actually kind of driving a wedge between the 2 parts of the Protoss army, but it's still working out pretty well for Ayud. Down goes the Charlatan, though. That's an expensive loss. It looks like maybe a Zealot or 2 will be brought down at the end, but look at that. There's another Charlatan where that came from, and just a little bit too difficult there for Hamster to break through. But he's biding his time because he's got Calculisks up there at 12 o'clock waiting to just come in and heckle this base. He can attack, from this side. For the Warden doesn't cover forever, right? It only protects if you're actually right here, but you can shut down the gas mining. That'd be pretty bad for the Ecclesiast and Charlatan production. If you get enough of them, you can shut down the Warden itself, and then it's open season, obviously, but a little bit harder. More Lyrilisks being made. Looks like, yeah, he wants to double up, force Ayud to make a decision. Do you protect your front gate, or do you protect your workers that are being wrecked right now inside the mineral line? Looks like he's choosing to stand his ground down here, knowing that this is a really important fight. This is a really important place, but that Calculisk raid was very successful, clearing several workers, giving Hamster the decided advantage in the economy, which wasn't exactly an open and shut case before, because Hamster had made a lot of military units, but now it's without question. 9 workers to the better, even after the latest round of production from Ayud. A couple more rotations like that. If Hamster just wants to keep piecing them up like that, there is still no tech development from our Protoss. Looks like Ayud thinks he's brought enough firepower to push across the map. He might be correct. A 3rd base is on the way for Hamster. We're making more Calculisks, but we are making them back at home. Zerg is in a position to respond to this assault, this little attack group. Love the little split across. He didn't even necessarily know that was there. Charlatan leading the way, and the Zets pounce on him immediately. We only have 1 more in the back. That's a force multiplier for Ayud's army. He wants to be a little bit better at keeping it alive. The Calculisks are here to support. They are going to chew through the Vagrants and the Ecclesiast, and I think this might be a wrap-up here, unless the Vagrants can really overpower this force. Oh, that's a mistake from Hamster. They've got considerable range, but the Calculisks went right to the front line. Looks like it will wipe some of the more expensive Zerg air. However, the Nats are stuck. You are not escaping from that. And that should be a wrap on most of what Aoud has, militarily speaking. He has rebuilt some workers, however, and Hamster does have that third base starting over at the 9 o'clock position. I did sort of critique Aoud for not doing any tech development, with the triple rogue gallery being a heavy committal into the tier 2, but no Ardent Authority, no dedicated splash damage, really. But he is starting on that himself now, and up until just this moment, Hamster has not tech developed himself either. He's just on that Apex Pool node in the Calcure Lake, and he will be going for the Shroud after. If he can get some Zorius out, he can definitely thin the herd, make it a lot easier for his pool-based army to find a lot of power, combining the Vorva Core with the Rilla Rogue Core armor rends. Of course, the attack speed slow from the Rilla Rogue Core explosions as well. He's got a huge army. Let's be real, 73 military units at this point. Very thematic for Zerg. More are coming as well. Now, can the Protoss defensive position last? He's got pretty poor surface area for Hamster to try to engage upon on this matrix, if they can even break through all of the units. The Bulwark here as well, restoring shields every 2 seconds. Pretty significant. A single bar guest here for armor pen, but not going to be required in the initial foray. We do have some drolls being established on gas mining. A scribe trying to battle back the enemy. Bold. Looks like 2 Nats have been forgotten about towards the 12 o'clock. And a Clarion is the first order of business here for Aoud. He wants to keep his shields intact no matter what. I don't know. I'm not so sure that Hamster is navigating it exactly right. But Aoud is also playing a pretty off-meta style, it feels like, with the Clarion. I dig the idea for sure. Need to see a little bit more of a solid engagement. I guess the Nathacors could go after the Clarion. That could be a problem, but we don't actually have any with this army. That Clarion is going to be the pièce de résistance for this force. The Ecclesia's trying to keep it alive. No targeting has really been done. He's just trying to break through with brute force. And he's got enough Lyrilisks to make it happen, with the Vorvs rending the armor as well. And Iris has begun. Guys, have we even seen any Zorkish Shroud units? He made the tech note in case he needed it. Then he saw how much Vespene he had off of all this income, and he elected to go for the jugular. Tier 2 halfway complete for him. Puts a pretty big timer on Aoud's position. Nathacors come in just to scout what's going on. They don't see anything developed in terms of tech. They obviously... The ground army was over here, so he saw that the Ardent Authority was there. He saw the Clarion. He knew what was going on. I wouldn't mind building 1 Calculus and attacking the workers here. It's just taxing the army. 2 Clarions, trying to double down on that shield sustain. Still nothing from the Shroud, despite building it. No Lakes, no Zorkis, no Zorius, rather. But the Iroll is done. What does Hammy want? He hasn't even really looked at his base. Spire. That's it. We're going to see a lot of Mutalisks, or maybe some Protathalors. Looks like a third base trying to be set up for Aoud. Still navigating it. Still the little engine that could. Trying to get something done here, but I don't know, man. The Clarions are really far away from this eastern flank. He's trying to keep himself alive, but he doesn't have any real frontliners. The Positrons are doing a lot of splash damage. The double Clarion enduring for a very long time. But he doesn't have anything else to shield sustain now. He needs to get those Clarions out of dodge. And we have so many more units coming in. Hordes of Zethrakors pouring forward. More reinforcements need to link up with those Clarions. They didn't end up getting got. But there is a humongous surround. The Zethrakors, they refuse to allow him back into his own base. And now they're diving onto the Matrix. There's no defense here in the natural. 7 pairs of Mutalisks are on the way. But I think they're surplus to requirements here. Aoud has fallen inside his natural, has fallen inside his own map pick. There is no way out from here. A second Ardent up in the top? Sure. Great idea. Even though the Clarions aren't even getting got, it's still GG from Aoud. And Hamster will happily take game number 1. I honestly think... the Clarion idea is really good. It's a good like little comeback mechanic for Protoss if they can get other units there, but he did not have dedicated splash. And I feel like the triple rogue follow-up, maybe it did help him get a little bit of push potential in the middle, but when he lost that army, he lost all of the momentum that he had built up, and he couldn't leverage that for a third base. So maybe it would have been worth using that third army to leapfrog into a third base, but can be difficult on that map. So let's dry. So let's see what's behind door number 2 as it pertains to this particular matchup. We'll find out. Ayud 64 in the bottom left. The Blood Protoss once again. Hamster in the top right, the Deep Periwinkle. Zerg here. Zerg here it is. And he's going for a lot of Vespene in the early game. This looks like a Hydroth opener. I know a Hamster build when I see one. There it is. And he will keep one Droleth on gas to harvest resources for Hydras. So it won't be an Iziracore start, which I guess is probably sensible versus a Protoss. I think the Lattice opener loses to this, but it might have more play than I'm giving it credit for. He's going to scout it. He can go into idols or just go into a gateway follow-up or whatever. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we are still raising money for the Hit 'em Up hash and for future competitive endeavors. If you want to support that, streamlabs.com/pronago. Great place to spend your dollar. And I appreciate Quickscops for giving, was that 3 subs today? We had Lucy sub, we had Quickscop sub himself, and then 3 more gifted subs after that. Great guy. What a guy. Appreciate you, dude. All the Twitch donos and stuff go towards, similar endeavors to the ordeal of trying to make sure that we have good competitive stuff going on. So I appreciate you guys anyway. Just wanted to say that. Thanks to all the donors on Coffee as well. Keep this wagon train a-running. We do have 4 Hydras on the way, and Ayud has elected to go for a Sim and a Manifold. I think he's expecting this to be Iziracores. The Manifold provides you a limited armor pen, so that's an interesting choice, but I do have a feeling that the Night Fox is right, that Hamster is going to walk across the map with Hydras and win. Now, he's wrong on the number. 3 is an important number, according to Artosis, but in this particular case, it's 4. Well, we're going to see real quick if Ayud can hold this. This might be a very quick one indeed. Hydra's already on the map. We've got one more coming, and it looks like we're switching into Droleths now. But I really don't think... I think you look at this as Zerg, and you're like, hell yeah, dude. I'm going to kill all of the Sims. He's trying to cycle back so he can get some more. But at this point, well, I guess the micro's been pretty poor, actually, from Hamster. He didn't really bother chasing after the Sims, so... question mark? Question mark, Hamster? Hamster mark? Yeah. Oh, okay. Thanks for explaining. Yeah, so the Manifold did get an HP buff at some point, like in the last month, maybe. Last year. What was that? Nude asks. Yeah, it's Hamster, not my... He looked away from the screen. What's up, Shopkeeper Dog? Late to the party, as Arbiz was as well. I can't believe you guys aren't playing today. Unbelievable. A lot more Hydras where that came from. So the next engagement should definitely favor our Zerg more. But hey, that last engagement should have favored our Zerg. So let's find out. He's diving right in. He's going after the Manifolds. Is that really wise? Maybe. It does reduce the Sim attack damage if you pop them all. But he did just lose 3 Hydras for 1 Manifold. So this is looking pretty rough, actually. The Protoss Simulacrum striking again. But now he's got a nice little firing line there, and he was busy microing his units to retreat, and so he didn't end up microing his units to attack the right targets. Oh, everything's getting split. Everything in the whole world is splitting, and Idol is here as well. The Idol Manifold on combo is definitely going to be hard to deal with. The Iziracore is dangerous versus Sims, dude. The Iziracore is very dangerous versus Sims. Let's see, a lot of them are pretty low. Okay, I think we've passed the danger zone. That was really close, though, dude. If that I-0 core caused a bunch of splits and there wasn't DPS to finish him off, that would have been real bad. That would have been real bad. So it looks like the idol's going to get hunted down. We do have a lot more units where that came from. Got up to triple lattice in the meanwhile, and Hamster's going to expand. So we are still in a game. Game is not over. It's not called. Hamster has recovered. We'll have to see how this one works because, yeah, it's going to be an expand from Aoud. I think we are in a macro game. I think we're in a macro game. Helios is cracking me up. Yeah, there are some people who, you know, sometimes you get the YouTube comment experts, right? And then they'll be like, Protoss is the weakest race. They have no units that can do anything. And then, you know, stuff like that will happen. Where it's like a pretty tight fight and requires skillful play on both sides. It's okay. It's okay. We don't need to worry about it. It's fine. Fine, lad. So, it is going to be a lot of Hydras. They have the one I-0 core bodyguard as well. And I think at this point, I mean, with the Circuit on the way, that's going to have to be a target from Aoud. But this looks like a pretty good fight for the Protoss. Let's see if he can actually leverage his army. The manifold count is pretty ridiculous, honestly. He's basically made manifolds like their combat units. And maybe they are, hold on, just punching through all the Hydras. Well, he's going to have to dive back with them. He's only got 4 Hydras in the production tab. Yeah, that's a wrap. Aoud has found the timing to push forward with the Protoss army. And that, my friends, means we go to game 3. Because 3 is a very important number. Aoud 64 is our blood Protoss once again in the bottom left. And Hamster, he is now the aquamarine. No, it was turquoise. Goddamn. I keep thinking it's one or the other. Hamster is our turquoise Zerg in the bottom right. So, horizontal spawns here in the bottom half of Atacama, a map by Biddy B. This is a 4-spawn map. We'll see where they decide to scout. And it looks like Hamster's doing a more standard play here at the end. At the very end, he goes to a standard Kagrant expand, you know, Kagrant pool or something like that. Is he actually going to... He could go double, though. He could go a little bit on the greedier side, and I wouldn't necessarily fault him for it. This is a 4-spawn map, and Aoud is scouting the wrong way. So, with that particular idea in mind, I'm curious about what you guys think about this. I feel like when you spawn bottom right, it feels like statistically there's a vibe, so it can't be statistical. It can't be objective. But I have a statistical thought, a statistical vibe, that bottom right never gets scouted first. Like, if your opponent's bottom left, they scout up. And if your opponent's top right, they scout left. You know what I mean? I don't think they ever go bottom right. Like, almost never do I see somebody scout bottom right from a mirrored spawn, you know, a close spawn or whatever. So, Hamster, anyway, could be... If he was feeling like me there, he could have gone double Larvosk into a pool. Just shades of hit him up here. We will see. We will see. Now, double gateway here for our Aouder, our Protosser. Sometimes he goes under the name Practice Bot. It's a pretty good one. Villy is saying when you spawn top right, you scout bottom right or cross spawn. I haven't seen anybody scout cross spawn in a long time. I don't know, most people who spawn top right seem to scout top left. From all of the casts that I'm remembering right now. Ecclesiast's taking defensive measures here. No Legionnaire this time around, and no Rogue Gallery. This is a triple gate, sort of Oya style. Zealot Ecclesiast, what we're queued up for here. A couple Zealots in production already. As the Zethricords are going to go ahead and scout close positions. Aoud has scouted his opponent last, and he will see that it's a pretty standard Larvosk pool build. I feel like Hamster could have killed the Scribe before he scouted the second Larvosk, which wouldn't really have mattered too much, but could have been something. Ecclesiasts do a little 360 no-scope there onto the Zethricord. No hope for scouting any deeper. This reminds me, I gotta repallet those rock doodads for all tile sets so that doesn't happen. Yeah, I scout cross spawn often because I don't know the map's for spawn. Clues in the name. Let's see. I don't think this is gonna go very well for Hamster. I have a funny feeling. I don't think he's gonna get much done with Quaz only. But his Vornath is on the way. I feel like if he had kept some of those Quaz alive, he would have been in a better spot. Especially if he like drags the army out to the middle of the map instead of towards his own base. But at this point, he's hitting panic stations. Larvos number 3 is on the way. Vornath Pond is done. We got Vorvs coming. And more Zeths as well. Very much needed. He is not going to have a great flank unless Aoud actually comes into his territory. Like if, Hamster parking his units off to the side and stuff. This is all correct. This is proper. Let's see. One Zethacor. Just seeing what's going on. A couple Legionnaires are being made right now. As Scribe is holding tight on the Nexus, but on the Natural, but there's no money for a Nexus yet. Hamster wants to see what he can do. I love that Aoud is driven back to the more tight choke here. This is going to be way harder for Hamster to break out, but he still wants to try it. I don't know that this is the right move. He will end up breaking a few of the Zealots, but there's so many more. I think Hamster's just made a big bungle of it. He's got a couple of Nathacors behind it. The Ecclesiast count is too high, though, and I think Hamster just made a grave error. He's going to dive the Nathacors onto the Ecclesiast, just try to tie him up with a little bit of DPS there. He's got Quads hatching around him. Maybe he can try to peel off some of those X, but I don't think so. The Ecclesiasts are too powerful, and Hamster, he walked right in, hook, line, and sinker to the bait that Aoud put. It was great play up until that point with his own concave, but at this point, the Legionnaire follow-up is damn strong. GG. Aoud pushes into the grand final, knocking Hamster down to face the winner of Art of Turtle versus Thunderslaps and Kutiam, which I don't think we have decided yet. Oh, looks like Kutiam has actually done it. He's defeated Thunder. So we'll have Art of Turtle versus Kutiam, which they already played earlier, and AOT was able to edge Kutiam out. Let's see what happens in the rematch, which is going to be a best of 3, by the way. That's pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing how that one goes. Feel bad for Hamster because it felt like he should have maybe won that second game, and he had everything in his hands to hold and continue playing Atacama, but he decided to try to break the choke, and I'm not sure if it was like a desperate move. He didn't understand what was going on exactly or what, but that's a rough one. That is a rough one.